Hello, I am Jaime Elizondo from Real World Ranching, where my priority is to help ranchers and farmers improve their land as quickly as possible while maximizing their profitability. Today, I am going to talk to you about whether total grazing works in all environments. To answer this question, we must first know where the idea of making a total grazing program came from. Could it be that someone came up with some novel theory? Or could it be that after much trial and error, it was concluded that this was the best way to manage the grass, land, and animals? Or could it be that we are trying to imitate nature, taking into account the physiology of the plants that are grazed? It is very important to know how to answer this question correctly because, as I always repeat, we must follow and help nature without contradicting her. Furthermore, if we do not follow nature, we will run the risk of deteriorating the environment instead of regenerating it. So what is nature's goal? Why is it that when a field is compacted, certain types of weeds germinate that are different than the weeds that germinate when the field is not compacted? Well, nature is always trying to move from the simple to the complex. And in those cases, she's trying to break down the compaction in the soil with the roots and compounds released by those pioneer species. Complexity and climax species will come once the level of humus and biodiversity is good enough. This is how nature works, but sometimes we must help her, especially when human beings are the ones who have degraded the land with their mismanagement through conventional agriculture or conventional ranching. So how is it that many say that in nature, our livestock select the best and leave the rest behind? Could it be that we no longer have the other species of wild animals that help to achieve total consumption of the grass produced? How is it that many have come to the conclusion that this is the way we should manage our livestock? I think it's because they haven't gone far enough back in time to before man came along and changed how the ecosystem worked by hunting many species of megafauna such as the mammoth, mastodon, wild horse, and woolly rhino to extinction. Renowned people observing current wild animals have concluded that it is the predatory effect that makes them move along, leaving the grass trampled instead of consumed. And they conclude that that is how nature works. Others have gone even further and seek and teach to have your livestock only graze or consume the top third of the plants for better nutrition. None of them take into account how nature actually works because they do not consider the basic physiology of plants and how humus is really formed. And humus, we know, is the true fertility of our soils. Now, this has only been known for the last few years, how humus is formed. So I ask you to share this podcast with people who can benefit from the information that I express here, as it is my goal that we will move forward and achieve the best results. If we investigate a little more, we realize that what we believe to be pristine and untouched by man has actually already been influenced by modern man. I mean, primitive man who used tools and hunted. Many years ago, 10 to 20,000 years ago, or maybe more, before man came to America, there were a number of herbivorous animals and their predators that is amazing. In addition, the type of grazing that they achieved, along with so many different species and herds of large size under the effect of predators, and being able to migrate when the forest ran out is amazing. Between all these species, they managed a total grazing that even today can be observed in a few truly wild places like the Okavango Delta in Botswana, Africa. We must know that many of the larger wild animals, the elephant, the rhinoceros, the hippopotamus, the zebra, the horse, the donkey, digest in their hindgut and have no rumen. And this allows them to digest high fiber grasses with less protein than the ruminants require. That is why, amongst all of these different species, they could achieve total grazing or high efficiency harvesting, which is what nature always seeks, the highest possible productivity per acre. If you're one of my total grazing students, you know that a high harvest efficiency, in addition to giving more cow days harvested per grazing, allows a longer rest to that field or paddock, and this helps to create fat and strong roots, in addition to a better ratio of leaf to stem in the regrowth. This is the exact opposite of overgrazing, which occurs when the herd returns to graze a paddock before the plants have fully recovered. That is overgrazing. If we really want to imitate nature, now with the few domestic species and almost all of them ruminants, since we only have horses and donkeys that still digest in their hindgut, that can be kept in good condition with lower quality pastures without any supplement, we must adapt our management and selection to achieve with one or two species what nature achieved before man with a multitude of different species in very huge numbers. In the Okavango Delta that I was mentioning, the fires, when they happen, are less intense because there is not much grass left after all those herds and different species of large animals pass through, that digest the lower quality grasses in their hindgut and still maintain their good body condition. On the other hand, where those large animals, mammoths, mastodons, woolly rhinos, etc., no longer exist, as in America, the greater amounts of grass and other vegetation that remains after grazing means that when a fire arrives, it is intense and damages the soil life, and it is a danger to everyone. So now that we know where the total grazing program came from, we can go back to the question. Does it work in all environments where herbivores are raised? Well, it is working in England, where they have managed to increase the stocking rate and reduce spending on hay and silage, achieving higher productivity per acre. It is working in South Africa, in Australia. Of course, we must adapt the fundamental principles to each specific environment. Another example would be in the tropics of Mexico, where we have managed to increase the stocking rate 3 times and improve the leaf to stem ratio of pastures. Canada, France, Denmark, New Zealand, and others come to mind. Philippines, in desert and mountainous area of Chihuahua, Mexico, they are also achieving excellent results by applying these fundamental principles. Also, in several places across the United States, from Florida to Iowa to Idaho, with excellent results in saving hay in the cold season and increasing stocking rates and productivity. This is because wherever we implement the total grazing program, where we imitate nature, we must achieve the following. Number 1, high harvest efficiency by doing total grazing, which allows us to increase the stocking rate and current and future productivity. This should be carried on in the green season and in the dry season. 2, produce deep and strong roots so that the regrowth is vigorous. 3, increase the humus percentage in your soil as quickly as possible because that is how it works in nature. 4, make a reserve of deferred pasture in area for the difficult season because now our animals cannot migrate to other regions as in the past. 5, when necessary, it is important to offer a small amount of high protein supplement to ruminant livestock because they cannot digest the fur grasses well when the protein content in them drops below 8% in a dry matter basis. And they would lose body condition by eating less grass because the passage through their digestive tract becomes slower. If they could migrate and mammoths, mastodons, and others still existed to consume what was left over, this would not be necessary. Now, why does it work in so many different environments? Well, because we're trying to imitate nature by taking into account plant physiology and how humus is formed in our soils. This is how nature works, and we should never contradict her. We can conclude that if we seek maximum productivity, profitability, and improvement of our soils in all environments where cows, sheep, and or goats are raised, this total grazing program that follows nature will work. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Until then, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube, or join us for the weekly email at www.rwranching.com/join. Hope to see you soon.